Welcome, Freddy. Hello. Hi. Great to see you here on stage. You have been in the OneConf a few years ago.
Yep, 2019, a long time ago in Malta.
In Malta, great. So, yeah, the stage is yours, and we are curious to hear more about slashing and what it's not about. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. And I really like the variety of topics here. Like this is going from everywhere, but yeah. And the title is sort of, a negation of, it's not about slashing, and that's about the risk. And I'll actually have one insurance angle in there as well, since we are at D1Conf. So, but it is about institutional due diligence for ETH staking risk. So just before I start, staking, for those that might not know, is obviously a way to secure blockchains via capital, which is sort of the opposite of proof of work, which does it by using a lot of electricity and hashing there. And Ethereum obviously is the largest proof of stake protocol. My name is Freddy. I'm the Ethereum ecosystem lead at Blockdaemon. For those of you back in 2019, I was the co-founder of AnyBlock Analytics, which was a blockchain data provider, and I actually presented some data points back then on the flight insurance, I believe. So yeah, very happy to be back here. And yeah, we were acquired by Blockdaemon in 21. And maybe just a few words about Blockdaemon. So Blockdaemon is the largest institutional staking provider. So we serve institutions, obviously a wide range of people, but let's say it's going from the very traditional tier 1 banks worldwide, like we're talking Goldman Sachs, Citi, BNY Mellon. All of these are either on our cap table or our customers. But then it goes to, let's say, VCs, funds, and crypto-native foundations and the like. So those are the things. So we're providing staking service. We also have a wallet that allows them to custody digital assets. We have a data API, and we have nodes to do things on chain for whatever they need it. So as you alluded to, it's not about the slashing. So what it is about, first I'm going to start why it's not about slashing, because slashings are really rare, even though people are afraid of them. And an upcoming hard fork Pectra makes them cheap as well. Then I'm going to talk about what it is really about, what are the risks in staking, and how you can mitigate those. And last not least is how you can optimize your rewards, which is sort of the opposite of the risk management. And then I'll try to give you some concrete hints on what to look for in a staking provider. And just as a spoiler, there's insurance in there. Right, so slashing, in staking, the concept of slashing is the point where when you misbehave, collateral is being taken away, right? And that is sort of the number one concern that people that want to get into it and want to earn the rewards are afraid about, because that's sort of the scary part everyone talks about. But actually, in reality, we see that those are very, very rare. As you can see here, there were on Ethereum 464 validators slashed in the 4 years, out of over 1 million validators online today. So it's really very insignificant. And it was actually even less. It was like 125 incidents really, and some of them involved several validators, and pretty much all of them were due to misconfigured node setups. So particularly in the beginning, people weren't really sure how this works, early days, 4 years ago. So I would argue if you're going with a professional node operator that knows this stuff, it is really nothing you need to worry about. But it's not just unlikely, the penalty is also going down with the next Pectra fork, which is happening by end of Q1 next year about, because it used to be 1 ETH per initial slashing, and this will go down to 0.00 something, so like $20 or something. So really, in the grand scheme of things, if you put up 32 ETH, which is, I don't even know, prices go up every day seemingly these days. So $100,000, you know, like 20 bucks is nothing you should be worried about. And there's one caveat to that. There's a correlation penalty. So if a lot of validators would be slashed at the same time, then there would be a correlation penalty, and that could take away up to your full collateral. So that's a scary thing, but it is really, really, really unlikely. That's basically, it was never triggered in the past. It would require 1% of all stake to be slashed in a month, basically. So yeah, very unlikely that this happens. So that's not a concern. That's the title of the talk. It's not about the slashing, even though that's what people think. So what are the risks? So it is the slashing, and could be either done maliciously, which I don't assume anyone is trying to do, because it would just be foolish, you would just lose money, or it's a stupid setup. But yeah, that's not the problem. Then there's another penalty where you can lose money, and that's offline penalty. If your node is down, you lose some money. It is very insignificant amounts. It's about, like, if you're down for a day, you lose the amount that you would have earned in that day. So, you know, again, just a few dollars maybe. And last not least, particularly for the institutions, it's always important with regards to rewards. Are they really getting them? And the liquidity, how to easily exit the position. And that is basically based on the performance or protocol reward rate, because I can't call it anything that sounds like make it sound like a financial product. So this is why I call it PRR instead of like APY or something. And it's about the withdrawal queue. How long does it take to exit the position? So each of those individually are not a problem, but what can be a problem is the correlations. So, for example, if one of the Ethereum client implementations would have a bug, and this is run by 30% of the network, 30% of the network would get slashed, then the correlation penalty would be so great that basically all your collateral would be wiped out. So that is a potential problem, very, very unlikely, but it exists. And the other one would be geographical or provider risk. So if you have everything in one data center, that data center goes down, I don't know, some construction rips out the cable or something like that, and it's down for 2 days, you would be, like, all of your validators would be down for 2 days, and you would accrue a lot of penalties, as well as missed rewards. And there might be in the future anti-correlation penalties or different types of reward structures, because basically the protocol wants to incentivize decentralization, basically. So how can you mitigate these risks if the correlation is the thing that you worry about? Number one is client diversity. You can run, if you have 1,000 validators, you can run them on different client implementations and thereby mitigating that risks. You need to think about consensus layer and the execution layer, which are both part of the Ethereum stack. But for all of those, and that's a unique position that Ethereum is in versus other proof-of-stake networks like Solana. We do have multiple implementations, and it has saved Ethereum in the past, to be fair. So this is a very important feature that other blockchains don't have. The other part is to diversify across different cloud and bare metal providers and put them in different jurisdictions. That way, so you're balancing out your risk in this regard. And last not least, there's one technology which calls distributed validators, and basically what it does, it shards the key. And blockchain is always about the key. It shards that validator key into different parts and have that run on different machines, different servers, and thereby adding resilience to the setup. So that was about the risks, what they are, and how to mitigate them. Now I'm going to talk about the thing that is actually, in our experience with institutions, currently much higher on their priority list, is actually the reward side. Like, they care much more about this, and I think this is a sign that the market is not quite mature yet, because, but I believe that as more and more institutions, particularly from the TradFi industry, are entering the industry, they will think more about the risks than about the reward, or at least as much. So just a few things. So basically the rewards on Ethereum are made up of consensus or protocol rewards on the left side, which is about 80%, and then there's transaction fees and MEV rewards, which are about 20%. That accrue when you propose actually a block, which happens about roughly 3 times a year on average. So I'm not going to go through all of those, but what you can do to optimize them, I mean, they're pretty much given, but there's some wiggle room to optimize, and that's what the staking providers compete for. One of the things that we found, that because we have like machines in any cloud and also bare metal, and we found that consistently bare metal nodes provide slightly higher performance and therefore slightly higher rewards. So that's the one thing that you can do on the protocol side. On the transaction fees and MEV rewards, you can actually do a lot more. Number one, there's a technology called MEV Boost, and that basically allows you to participate on the MEV side of things, and this will make the blocks about 4 times as valuable. The second part is you can optimize your latency in order to basically build the block later to allow for arbitrageurs to gain more from the block, basically, and that way you as the proposer of the block will also benefit. Now, the thing that you need to worry about is that you need to do this responsibly, as this could lead to missed slots and reorgs off the chain. And last not least, you can connect to different relays. That's how the MEV supply chain works in Ethereum. I won't go into the details, but basically there are several of them. If you connect to as many as possible, this will increase, number one, your resilience, because if any of those relays go down, you still have backups. But there's also the component of OFAC compliance. They're compliant relays, and the other would basically promote themselves as non-censoring. So depending from your point of view, whether you think OFAC sanctions are sensible or not, and I think this is a point that can be discussed, that's an important consideration, particularly for our traditional institutional clients that are very, very worried to get into trouble with any regulators for the tiny bit of crypto that they hold compared to, their main business. So that's how to, what the risks and the rewards. So basically, if you were to choose a staking provider, here's some tangible things that you can look for. So the risk mitigation and the reward optimization are obviously top of the list, and I spoke about those just before. But, and here comes the insurance part, there's slashing insurance. So if Blockdaemon or any other staking provider would cause the validator to get slashed, basically you want to make the customer whole, and you can do that from the balance sheet, or depending on the size of your node operations, that might not be enough, so you might want to have insurance from the traditional insurance. What's even better, and sort of I put it below, the slashing insurance is sort of standard, but what would be even better from your perspective is if you get a reward guarantee, because you're not only getting penalized, but you're also missing out on rewards. So actually making you whole I would personally consider not just repairing the damage, but also sort of restoring the opportunity cost that you had, that if you were online during those times, basically. And then, so that is about the slashing part, and then you could additionally have top-up insurance, which I believe actually Quantstamp and Chainproof are offering these days, and making it more realistically now, from my understanding, actually be insurable, because before those catastrophic events about the correlation and slashing penalties basically made it so expensive that it would practically wipe out all the rewards that you can earn, and therefore it's not really an interesting product. But by now I think the premiums have gone down so that it is a viable alternative. And then even if you have that insurance, obviously, and me not being an insurance expert, but I think everything is determined in the fine print. So not what the bold claims that are advertised, but the little things in the fine print. So if you not want to rely on that, then a strong company position is obviously a good thing. One of the things that you can look for is growth in the bear market. Obviously now we're in the bull market, everyone can present happy numbers, but how have they performed in the last 2 years? That would be an interesting metric to look at. Mature processes and IT security, and you probably don't want to do the diligence yourself, but you are trusting them with millions, hundreds of millions, or even billions of dollars. So you really want to make sure that they can't be wiped out. And obviously SOC 2 or ISO certifications would be a thing to look out for to get that a reasonable assurance that they know what they're doing. 24/7 support around the world, that's great, and a lot of people claim that, but does it actually translate into concrete service level agreements that guarantee you, that you have someone to ping if there's any questions or issues? Another part which is particularly interesting from the institutional side is reportings. And API integrations, because it's not like they're going to transfer those funds from a MetaMask to your nodes. This is a complex IT operation. Well, it's not actually so complex, but it's a high value transaction. So again, you want to make sure that this is all good, and also if you're staking like $1 billion, then your rewards will be significant. So you definitely do need solid reporting on what is happening. And not all of this is very easy to recognize. And I won't go into the details, but anyway, you need like at least 2 sources of data so that you can reconcile your accounting and all of these kind of regulatory and bookkeeping requirements. Custodian integrations. All these institutions, like I said, are not going to go from MetaMask or your Ledger hardware device. They actually need to custody their funds at qualified custodians, which is a highly regulated industry. So we as a node operator have to provide integrations with those custodians so you can stake your funds while they're sitting in this very secure and regulated place. The compliance approach is other thing that you need to think about. Like I said, if you're coming from a very regulated environment and yes, $1 billion might sound a lot to crypto people, but really like if you're, I don't know, BNY, they have trillions under management, so that 1 or 2 billions, like it's tiny for them, so they're not gonna risk anything or any problems with the regulator just because of that. So it's super important for them to stay OFAC compliant. Third-party metrics. Usually the compliance departments demand that there's some third-party source that is actually checking what's going on. Arguably you could say, the blockchain has the truth, but then it's not that easy because, for example, the compliance data is not obvious on the blockchain. You would actually have to dig into that. Rated.network is a great way to compare performance data and rewards data on different node operators. And Metrica, for example, providing the compliance information. And last not least, obviously particularly with institutions, some ESG requirements might want you to look like, how environmentally friendly or conscious is the server hosting and things like that. Maybe a side point here, but I think if you're here in Bangkok and the heat, the smoke, the everything, I think it's worth pointing out, at least on a side note. Right, so yeah, I hope that gave you an interesting angle into the world of staking and the little connection that it has to the insurance world. Yeah, if you want to learn more about the Ethereum universe, what is happening there, we do publish a monthly newsletter with those types of informations. Probably next up will be a DEF CON recap and what's happening in the Pectra fork. So yeah, if you scan that QR code, you get to the subscribe page. And yeah, welcome any questions if we have time.
Thank you so much. Great. Any questions to Freddy? I have a remark. So I think this is a pretty nice example how insurance can help to make business models more resilient. And I think this is also a big potential for all of us here in the decentralized insurance space, that we build solutions which help to make other models more resilient. And I think this is a premium example here. Thank you so much, Freddy.
Yeah, absolutely.